How you doing, people? Welcome back to another ESO video. Today is another update about the PTS for the upcoming update 41 for the Elder Scrolls Online. Now, basically, there is a lot of combat changes that are quite impactful, that being status effects, some class abilities, and, of course, taunt in area of effect. Technically speaking, we've never had an official area of effect taunt in the game. All of the taunts are single target, and Zos made it that way on purpose, versus other MMOs where you have AOE taunts and aggro counters where you have to kind of keep on top of it, otherwise a DPS can out aggro you. In ESO, the taunts are controlled fully by individual casts. And again, they did that on purpose to allow the tanks to make decisions. You decide your primary targets, you decide whether you can micromanage multiple targets or whether you want to just maintain a major taunt on one and then control the rest of the ads at the same time via chains or immobilizations, whatever is in your toolkit. Now, there has been a slight oversight over time, and yes, we did take advantage of this with a couple of builds, and people are concerned as to whether those builds are or are not dead. Well, a certain part of it may be, but it doesn't mean the builds are. There are other ways around things, and I'm going to demonstrate today how one of the most vital sets that contribute towards actual area of effect taunt, which is now changed, can still function for you in a way that will make sense. So the lazy tank, if you're familiar with it, basically has a problem. It's a Templar. Templars don't have immobilize. So you would chain stuff in, it's now following a stun CC, and you have no immobilization to hold them still. So what we did instead is we took advantage of time stop, which was a very good snare. It slows enemies down, and then after a few seconds, it pops and stuns them. Now, I know people would ask, well, how does that work? Because a chain will stun and this will stun, so those two don't stack. Well, that's why we utilized two very specific sets. We took advantage of time stop, and as you place this, you would jump into the pack of enemies. So to simplify again, snare, 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 snare is going to pop any moment, jump in, pop, they're all stunned. Now, what would be the point in that? Well, the point is, one of the sets we utilized was Rush of Agony, and this allows you to jump into an enemy with a charge ability, whether it be single target or area of effect. The initial hit will pull in surrounding enemies up to 10 meters away from you. Now, the physical damage pop is separate to that, that's within 7 meters, but they will pull within 10. How does this work? Well, you understand that a stun immunity will apply if you stun something. So this won't work, right? No. Read at the bottom. This is the only set in the game and the only pull in the game that doesn't apply a stun cooldown or a stun crowd control or an immunity to stun on target. So we could jump in, pull all the enemies in, and by the time they're in, the time stop will pop and hold them in place. That was our workaround for the lack of immobilization in area of effect for the Templar. The other bonus was we were taking advantage of that jump again by utilizing a charge ability to taunt the target. How does this all line up? Well, this has been used on multiple different builds across the world. Loads of people have used it on their channel, but on this particular build, it was to take advantage of a charge and taunt. But if you do damage on impact, all targets that take damage on impact will be taunted. So we took advantage of explosive charge. On impact, it hits everyone exactly the same time, so all targets were taunted, up to 6 at a time. So we could just jump, 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 jump in a crowd with time stop running. Everything's pulled, everything's stunned, everything's taunted. That is now gone. We can still take advantage of the same routine with Rush of Agony as time stop first, jump in second, everything's pulled in and stunned. We can still do that. And then we can individually taunt individual targets manually and make choices, which Zos always wanted. However, the set itself that did taunt multiple if they all got hit at the same time, only if they all got hit at the same time, now has a twist to it. It no longer does that. It no longer taunts enemies that are hit on impact. It taunts the individual enemy that is hit. So if you do pull an enemy, teleport, leap, charge, blink, anything like that, the first enemy hit is the one that will be taunted. However, to take away from that, the area of effect application of it, which is a side effect, it wasn't meant to happen, Technically, it works with Explosive Charge, Stampede, and the Werewolf Jump. Those are the only 3 that do it. Everything else is a hit and then dot. What they've done is instead they've added a heal to it. So you can still charge in, you can still pull, you can still teleport, and you will taunt the target individually. So you can jump, 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 and taunt multiples if you want. It's quite quick, but it's slightly different to taunt the whole room. But on impact, regardless of the first enemy being taunted, that hit, that attack, considers the damage it does. All of it. So if you charge in and hit a single target, you will heal for 46% of that damage done. If you jump in with an ability that splashes and hits multiple targets, then you will get healed multiple times. So while they've taken away the area of effect control of it, they have given us still some control, kept the resistance bonus, and they've allowed us to take a heal for jumping in and making ourselves susceptible to attack. So let's just demonstrate that real quickly. First of all, you've got this, which is an individual charge ability. As you can see there, that is a heal based on damage done. Doesn't look that big. You need to do the damage in order for it to make sense. If you crit it, yes, of course, the heal will be higher. But that's about 1.3 a pop there. Bear in mind, if you've got buffs and bonuses from your groups, that can be quite a lot more. But it's a free heal nonetheless. Jump in, taunt, get resistance bonus, and heal. Well, now look at the healing on the right-hand side when I jump into multiple targets. It can't even keep up. It's healing from every target hit. So, for this particular build, your ability to control is the same when it comes to pulling and pinning, but you will now have to make choices as to which targets you want to taunt manually in order to control them. But again, you've got this still as an area of effect attack that can heal you. So it's a burst heal that we didn't really have before. Technically, the Templar does have burst heals, but you have to build off of flat resources and weapon and spell damage. But since we don't do that on this particular build, it helps a lot to be able to hit multiple targets and take a big heal rather than just taking advantage of our HOTS. So the area of effect taunt side of it has actually gone, but the set has been twisted to give us something else as well, or instead. Now, how does that affect other builds? Well, if you're utilizing the two-hander for Stampede and you're trying to area of effect taunt from that, the same applies. You won't actually taunt all individual targets, you'll only taunt one at a time. But you will still get the heal. So if you are built for a bit more damage, and you are utilizing a damage skill that can then crit or guaranteed crit, you can take a rather large heal from it. An example of that would be if I put a two-hander on. I'm sure I've got one somewhere. Any will do, doesn't really matter. That's a bow, that's dumb. Two-hander. We are on the public test server, by the way, so all this stuff is free. But if we put a two-hander on the bar and we take advantage of Stampede or even crit rush, because now it doesn't matter that it hits an area of effect. You can choose either one of the two morphs, so it doesn't make one completely redundant. But if we say we take this, for example, this increases the cost, but also applies damage over time, so you could take advantage of that if you wanted, or you can just simply use the individual one and guarantee a crit. So you do more damage the further you go, but it always crits. So now if you utilize this instead of the Stampede, or the shield charge even, this is a much bigger heal. If you were built to have higher flat stats for weapon and spell damage, that could be a substantial benefit to you. So even on this target here, that's a 7k heal. 7k, 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 and it's very, very consistent. So there are benefits to that set now, at the same time as not having to actually slot a full-on taunt. You can use something else instead. So that's its main purpose now. It's not to add area of effect taunts. And while, yes, of course, we're going to be a little bit salty about it because it was easy for a long time, the devs didn't want this to ever happen. It was a side effect. I've spoken to Gilliam multiple times about this. I've spoken to the combat team themselves as a whole, and I've also had 1-to-1 and 2-to-1 sessions, actually, with multiple devs, including Finn, regarding the werewolf side of things and regarding the taunting set itself. It was never designed to allow for area of effect taunts. However, here's what happened. There was a side effect and a choice that they had to make. We've been going through a 3-year combat pass to try and change the way the game works, to smooth it out and make it all make sense. And we're almost at the end of that. But during that time, they had to be very, very careful as to what they tampered with and what they didn't, because other things could break. Now, if you look at the previous patch notes over the last 3 years, you'll note that there have been sections of sets changed that are all very similar to each other or follow the same rules. Charge, leap, and teleport abilities were the problem. While the Tormentor set worked for charge and leap abilities, they didn't intend on the werewolf being able to taunt, especially not in area of effect. They didn't intend on explosive charge being able to taunt all targets, and they didn't intend on the stampede ability either. What they planned on doing was making it so it did fire in single target and just had to kind of suck it up for the werewolf, because it's not meant to be tanky by design, but they kind of accepted that. But the problem was, if they changed individual skills for this set, then the rules would be twisted along the way in code, and unfortunately, one being changed would change them all. So basically, to fix the area of effect taunt issue, they had to break all the skills, and they weren't willing to do that at the time. So what they've done eventually is, once we've now consolidated all of the combat stuff and the sets and the rules and the bonuses and etc, 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 taunt has been changed. The soft taunt idea is now a real thing since they added it. Now they can make better choices or easier to apply changes to sets to make the whole skill line or skill type different. So what they've done is they changed the Tormentor set at base so that all skills that are affected by it are not broken. So technically, yeah, I know it sucks, but that was the reasoning for it. If they'd have changed the explosive charge, then the werewolf would have been broken itself and the set would be useless on it. So you couldn't get the resistance back. You couldn't get anything back at all. If they changed the pounds for the werewolf because they didn't want a werewolf to taunt, then explosive charge or every other charge ability or every other leap ability would be broken, and so on and so forth. It was a very difficult time for them to kind of fix this. And while I know there's lots of backseat devs out there that would say, oh, it's just easy, you just change this. 27 million lines of code, 15-year-old code, not that easy to do. One wrong button, you got 27 million Christmas tree light bulbs out, and you got to find out which one is wrong. Very difficult to do, but eventually they consolidated everything and came to this. So no, we do not have an area of effect taunt in the game officially, and no, we do not have one that we can kind of makeshift ourselves anymore. But still a major benefit to those that want to use charge abilities with that set to take advantage of the resistance bonus and taunt at the same time. You never know, you might be a deeps that can hold their own. You will heal. You will get burst heals from it. So hopefully that helps. I know, it sucks, but it is what it is. It's for the sake of balance. They never wanted it to be a thing in the first place, and they finally fixed the issues that they had when trying to change stuff, so now we're just got to suck it up. Thank you very much for watching. Don't forget to hit that sub button. Tell me what you think in the comments below. Do you fucking hate it? Do you love it? Do you understand that it's for the sake of balance? Are we salty and accepting it anyway, or are we just going to throw our toys out of our pram? Let me know what you think, and I'll see you in the next video. Thank you very much, and bye-bye.